Hey guys, Sundown here. This is going to be my chapter review to One Piece 905, A Beautiful World. Now, I didn't know how much I would enjoy Reverie, but seeing the whole, the world building in this chapter, and it just got me really hyped for what we're about to see and learn in this arc. I mean, there hasn't really been an arc besides maybe Fishman Island, even parts of that I did enjoy, but there hasn't really been an arc where I haven't really enjoyed it, and Reverie was just something that would be really new to us because it doesn't seem to involve any of the Straw Hats directly, so I wasn't sure how it would go. But seeing how it's gone so far, and with this opening chapter, I was just like, this is going to be amazing. I can't wait to see what Oda's going to do, and I completely have faith in what he's going to show us going through this arc. So the cover page is Olympus beginning his life as a pirate, folding his pajamas at 6 a.m. I feel his idea of being a pirate is slightly different than everyone else's and different to the norm, but that's cool, whatever. So the chapter starts by showing us showing us New Marineford, which is the Marine headquarters built after the Summit War. It's been built larger, it's been built stronger, it's been built better in every way, in every possible way for the Marines. And you can see cannons sprouting out of every possible orifice of this new Marineford. And we also have this huge kind of Marine M towering over the new Marineford right behind it. And actually, just before we talk about that M, I'd like to talk about the design of the castle. Now, it has the usual kanji at the front. I don't know what the kanji says. I assume it's marine, but it also says it in plain Latin English. Just in English, it says marine at the front as well, which is different to the original Marineford, which just had the kanji for marine. And also, the original Marineford was a very kind of Eastern, kind of Japanese classic building in terms of it, where it had the archways and stuff like that. But this is a very, very Western, very Akainu style type of building, very blocky, very castle-like, very. Basically, it's kind of almost like Winterfell. It looks like something that could survive a siege for a couple of years. And like I mentioned before, we have this huge kind of Marine M at the back of this new Marineford, like two crow's nests on top of it. So I assume those are there for the lookouts and things like that, and it just looks awesome. Now, as we already know, this new Marineford is situated on the opposite side of the Red Line to the original Marineford, and we also know that the base G1 now resides where the old Marineford was, on the other side of the Red Line. So basically, in Paradise we now have base G1, and in what do they call it? In the Hell side, I forgot what it's called. Is it Hell? Yeah. So in this in the Red Line side, in the New World side of the Red Line, we have New Marineford. We're reminded what the task of the Marines at Marineford is. They're essentially the gatekeepers to the Holy Land of Marijoas, which is the first line of the defense for the Celestial Dragons. So we see Akainu, who he erupts with rage after he learns that Fujitora has come to Marijoas. Fujitora was disallowed by Akainu from stepping into any marine base until he came back with the heads of Luffy and Law, because he essentially let them go free. And Fujitora does him over kind of on a technicality. Marineford is not a marine base. Now, at this point, I wasn't sure what he meant entirely. Is it because it's the headquarters that it's not classified as a branch and therefore not a base? Or is it because Marineford doesn't actually class as a marine base, but rather a base owned by the world government and the Celestial Dragons, those who inhabit Marijoas? So I wasn't too sure which of the two it was. Now, I loved how Sengoku actually walks in on Akainu, and while he's exploding with rage in response to, Fujitora's I'm here because it's not a marine base, he just walks in, he's like, it's a difficult job, right? And he's just like, shut up, you semi-retired man. So I was like, what a guy, he's a straight troll at this moment in time. He's almost got that kind of Garp feel to him. And it's here that we actually learn that Ryokugyu, or Green Bull, is also going to Marijoas. And I was like, oh, I hope we get to see him. So we then go to the Red Port, which is a large port which hugs the Red Line on both sides of the Red Line. So basically behind base G1 we have the port side basically on the side of the Red Line. Then we have the second Red Port, which is also, I think it's behind the new Marineford and also hugging the Hell side the Red Line. So we see these kind of bubble elevators which take people to the top of the Red Line, which is how the Marines, or how it's basically been answered here, which is how the Marines can traverse the Red Line so quickly. They just pop up on these what are called gondolas. They get to the top, traverse sort of through Marios, you assume, then come down on the side of G1 or on the side of New Marineford. So that's how they traverse the Red Line so quickly. Now, at this port, we find a bunch of world nobles are making their way towards Marios and getting ready to attend Reverie. We're introduced to quite a few of them. We see Beer the Sixth from the Roshwan Kingdom. Sounds awfully a lot like Russian Kingdom. With what I think are his daughters, the Matrio princesses, who also resemble Matryoshka dolls, which I think are Russian in origin, so make of that what you will. We see the hard-boiled King Hamburger from the Bollywood Kingdom, Hollywood Kingdom, who walks slow but never turns back, very hard-boiled guy. We see Queen Mororon from the Tajin Kingdom holding a glass of wine. She looks quite similar facially to Otohime. She looks she has very wide eyes, very narrow features. We see King Tacos from the Shishano Kingdom wearing a sombrero and a poncho. I feel like Oda could have come up with something more creative here in terms of, like, forget about the design, but the name. I mean, like, King Tacos, and he's obviously like he looks Mexican in origin, even though there's probably no Mexico. It's the Mexican equivalent in One Piece. I thought he could have come up with something, especially in the name King Tacos, something just slightly less stereotypical. Even in the design, sombrero, ponchos. He's got a cactus in his hat. I was like, really? Come on, man. So then we see our boys from Ryugyu Kingdom roll up with the whole family. We got Manboshi, Shirahoshi, all the other Bushis, and we got Neptune. And only the second Reverie attendance by the Neptune family, or by the kings of the royalty of the Fishmen in over 200 years, and they've been like one of the longest standing kingdoms that have been a part of Reverie. So surprisingly enough, Garp is their escort, and I was actually really happy to see Garp again. I've been wanting to see him again for ages, and he didn't really disappoint this chapter, especially with what he does with one of the royalty meets. Now, all the media go ape at the sight of Shirahoshi and her beauty. We have big news Morgans, who instantly falls in love with her. Neptune is obviously concerned by all these weirdos who are looking at his daughter with like hearts in their eyes. I mean, like she's 16 or something like that. And Garp just assures him that this reaction is to be expected. Now, I love the part where Shirahoshi sees a tree and asks Garp if it's a forest, and he's just there like, no, it's a tree. That's just one, So I love how clueless she is. And also from this exchange, we're told by the Neptune family that they're aware of Garp's relation to Luffy, seeing as Shirahoshi refers to him as Luffy-sama's grandfather. So they know who Garp is. Now, we then get this one royal who confronts Garp, and this scene was hilarious. I really enjoyed this scene. Now, much like Luffy, Garp doesn't seem to do so well in the presence of ignorant nobles. He's cool with nobles who are chill, like the Neptune family. But his chance meeting here with the new king of the Goa Kingdom, Stelly, was priceless. Now, many of you will remember who Stelly was, because we all have this internal hatred for Stelly. Stelly is the adoptive brother of Sabo, a little turd of a brother who kind of has little sense of the world, but tries to weasel his way into better situations because of his royal status. He's that type of character, the really Weasley behind your back kind of guy. And the fact that Garp calls him a shitty brat was funny, and Stelly's reaction was hilarious. But something to remember here is that Morgans notes down who Stelly is and the number of criminals from his kingdom, from the Goa Kingdom, namely Dragon, Ace, Luffy, Sabo, all excluding Garp, obviously. But I feel like maybe this will come back in terms of maybe this will be of note later on in Reverie, and I feel like Stelly's introduction here is no joke. I feel like Oda has a part for him to play in Reverie, and something important. So it also turns out that Stelly married the princess Nanto Canet, and after the king and prince mysteriously died, he ascended to the throne. Now, it sounds like Stelly has remained a turd on the face of multiple people's existences over these last few years, and he's very, very suspicious in this whole the king and prince just suddenly died and he happened to rise to the monarchy. He became the monarch of this kingdom. of the Goa Kingdom in anyway, so Garp continues to verbally abuse Steli, calling his face annoying. I found that really funny. But when Steli tells him that he wants to become a celestial dragon, he's like, "Hey Garp, set me up with a celestial dragon or something like that. Get me a network, get me a connection with these guys." Garp even goes so far as to say, "You want to become a scumbag," as referring to the celestial dragons as scumbags. And I was like, wow, that's a ballsy move, especially considering where you are right now. And it doesn't take much to shock Steli. I mean, he's a little turd, but he realizes how much weight a comment like that has and how much it carries, which is made funny as hell when Garp realizes what he said, and he's just like, "Hey, wait, forget I said that, whoops." And I was like, yo, this guy, if anybody else had been there, if a celestial dragon had been around that area, Garp would probably have been, an order would have been made to execute Garp if a celestial dragon had been there, possibly. But Garp also has, his own position, so maybe not. So Steli then realizes the fishmen who are near him and surround him, basically, and proceeds to shit himself due to his kind of racist and prejudiced nature. And as you can tell, I really dislike Steli and can't wait to see if he gets his just desserts eventually, or maybe in this arc. Now, the Neptune family board a gondola and wave to Garp as they make their way to Marioas, and when above the clouds they see the sun in its full splendor and glory, causing Shirahoshi to tear up. We then go to Marijoas, where a silhouetted figure kind of hangs up a Denden Mushi. We hear the kachak, and he tells someone, or we assume it's the person next to him, that Sakazuki or Akainu has ordered him to get the other person to leave. So the guy who put down the phone has been ordered to get the person next to him to leave. So it can be assumed here, because we know who Sakazuki wants out of Marioas right now, it's Fujitoro. So Fujitoro is there. But this is where I got shook, because I know there's only one other person in Marioas at this time who could possibly escort Fujitoro out if he didn't want to go. And the only other person Sakazuki would order to do that would be Ryokugyu. So I especially because it was a silhouetted figure as well, I was like, oh shit, we're being introduced to Ryokugyu. So I was really actually shook. And then when we got the name box at the end, I was like, oh yes. So we do actually see kind of Ryokugyu here, but it's more because he's a silhouetted figure, we just kind of see his demeanor. He's a very kind of chill guy, and he seems to kind of respond to things very emphatically, energetically. He's quite a cool guy. And for some reason I get the feeling he might be blonde, but seeing as they don't want to cause major damage to the surrounding area, the two choose not to fight each other, whilst Fujitora eats and tells this man that he wants to destroy the system and not really destroy his surroundings. So upon being asked how Vegapunk was, Fujitora tells the guy that Vegapunk has created something incredible, something that completely destroys the need for the Shichibukai. Now, obviously the question here is, what could it be? Better improved pacifista? I don't think it's going to be a pacifista at all. I doubt it, because the way Fujitora kind of says it suggests that it's something new, something unheard of, something that they haven't really seen before. And if it was just kind of like a new improved pacifista, unless it was something like a Haki infused steel was used to make pacifistas, I don't think that would be a good upgrade. Other than that, but even then, that would be really like a Haki infused steel outside of someone's will to blacken that steel. So for instance, if someone isn't there to blacken the steel, is it still a Haki infused steel, if you know what I'm saying? So Fujitora then asks if Ryokugyu wants to eat or if he's still fasting, to which Ryokugyu replies he finds eating a pain and hasn't done so in 3 years. Now at this point I was just like, what? He hasn't eaten in 3 years. I mean, like, I know it's Ramadan, we don't eat from sunset to sunrise, or sunrise to sunset, sorry. This boy hasn't eaten in 3 years. That's some extended Ramadan. And I was just like, what could his devil fruit be? That's obviously the question everyone wants answered at this point. Now, in my opinion, seeing him saying that he hasn't eaten in 3 years, it has to be some form of plant logia, or even, I don't really care which classification it is. It's got to be some sort of plant-based or nature-based devil fruit. I mean, allowing him to like photosynthesize and generate energy via sunlight. But I really feel like people are going to be speculating hard on this, and they have their own rights, they can do that. But it has to be some sort of plant-based devil fruit, I think. Now we then go to the Kamabaka Kingdom, where Betty asks Koala if this latest mission will be difficult for her, seeing as the fishmen are now at Reverie and they're going to crash Reverie, and Koala kind of has that tie. She has her own ties with the fishmen. And I feel this part was added just to remind us as readers that the Revolutionary Army aren't opposed to the world government per se. They're opposed to corruption and corrupt leaders and oppression, something which is rife within the Celestial Dragons. So they who happen to control the world government. So their fight is really against the Celestial Dragons and not the world government per se. So we then go to a Bondola with King Hamburger and Stelly rising to Marijoas. Stelly is spooked because of how high they are, but also he's mostly spooked because he says he saw a giant with a harpoon. Now there's only one guy that fits that description, so first, straight away, I thought my boy has just seen Morley, especially because we just came off of the Revolutionary Army panels, seeing Koala and Betty. So I was like, yo, he's just seen Morley, and I was like, really, already? Like the Revolutionary Army have already made their move? That was pretty quick. And then we see some crows approaching the bubbles, which further unnerves Stelly, and it has to definitely be Karasu. It's no one else. The Revolutionary Army has made its move, and they've played it really fast. So I was surprised by how quickly the Revolutionary Army has made their way to Reverie. A guard reassures King Stelly that they're safe, only for Oda to show us the scar running down his face and the eyes and almost the mouth of Sabo. And it's actually Sabo in disguise. So the infiltration of Reverie has begun, and I can't wait to see what happens next. There are bound to be so many different powerhouses from the Marines at Marijoas, and I don't see how this is going to be a good move for the Revolutionary Army in terms of how they're going to get out safely. You've got Sabo there, you've got Morley there, it seems, and Karasu. You can't just waste three of your most important figures within the Revolutionary Army just to declare war. So I assume they have their own way to get out, or they have an idea of how they're going to get out, but they're going to be in the presence of people like Akainu, Sengoku, Garp, Fujitora, Ryokugi, and Kizaru, and many more people. So I'm not sure how they're going to do it, but they're going to try and do it. So this is going to be so hype. I can't wait to see what happens next. Let me know what you guys thought of the chapter. Let me know what you guys thought of this review. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys in a bit.